Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. So today's video is just a life update, letting you guys know where I've been, what's been going on. And if you strictly subscribe to my channel just for bookish content, this is not going to include any of that, so you might want to skip it. But a couple of months ago, I posted on my community tab that I was going to be taking some time off for some health reasons. And a couple of you guys responded with just like the kindest comments. And then recently, a few of y'all have reached out via Discord and Patreon, just asking if I'm okay. So I wanted to make this video just explaining. So I'm so nervous, you guys, so nervous. I have two major life updates that I'm going to talk about. I don't really reveal a lot of personal information on my channel about myself or my life. It's just once something's on the internet, it's there forever. And I am going to be disclosing a lot of, I guess, personal things that have kind of led up to this. So yeah, I'm so nervous. Okay, let's just go ahead and get right into it. So I don't think I've ever disclosed on my channel how old I am, but this is relevant. I'm 38 years old, and I have been married to my husband since I was 22. So you guys can do the math. We've been married a long time. And we are childless, but not by choice. During the time we've been married, we've been unable to have children. And kind of backtracking, in 2015, when I was 28 years old, I did have an ectopic pregnancy, which, if you don't know what that is, it is where the fertilized egg implants outside the uterus, normally in the fallopian tube. And it's incredibly dangerous. It can cause the fallopian tube to burst. It can cause internal bleeding for the woman. It requires surgery, and it's not a viable pregnancy. Luckily for me, it was caught before any of that happened. And I was given a injection of methotrexate, which is a chemotherapeutic drug, to address it. So that was in 2015. Fast forward to 2019, nothing happened over that 4-year period. And the definition of infertility for couples is the inability to conceive within a year of trying. So 4 years definitely solidified that definition for us. So in 2019, my husband and I decided to pursue fertility treatment, and we had decided that we did not want to go through with IVF for specific personal reasons. We were both on the same page with that. So we started off with the most basic form of fertility treatment, which is just Clomid, which is a drug that I take plus an injection. And we did two rounds of that, and nothing happened. So as you all know, 2020 hit, COVID hit, and everything just went to chaos. So we decided not to continue fertility treatment because we spent basically on those 2 rounds a couple of $1,000s, and it was incredibly disheartening for nothing to happen. And then the doctor was only going to do 3 rounds anyway before moving on to IUI. And both my husband and I had all the tests done, everything, and no one could give us a definite answer for what the problem was. And to this day, I have no idea. So that was in 2019. My husband and I decided just to leave it in God's hands. You know, if it was his will for us to have children, then we would have children. And if not, we didn't. And we just trusted his directive for our life. So fast forward to the end of 2023. In December, I got a positive pregnancy test after 8 years of nothing. And we were so excited, and we told all my family over the holidays and everything. And I went in for my first ultrasound at the beginning of January, and I was around 9 weeks at that time, 9.5. And I went in only to discover that I had had a silent or missed miscarriage. And if you don't know what that is where the baby dies in the womb and the body doesn't recognize the loss, doesn't abort any of the tissue, and the mom has no idea that there's a problem. I had no idea. So there's 3 ways to manage that. You can wait it out, which can take weeks and also leads to risk of infection. Don't want to do that. You can have surgically removed, or you can have everything taken care of medicinally with the drug misoprostol, I think is what it's called, if I remember correctly. So I went the medicinal route. When we went in for the ultrasound, there was no heartbeat. So that's how we knew that it had been a missed or silent miscarriage. So I was prescribed the drug and sent home. And that's a pretty brutal drug. The doctor did not prepare me for that. So I was quite devastated after that because I had not had a pregnancy for 8 years, and only to have one and it not be viable was really, really hard. And I took a couple of months off at the beginning of 2024 last year, and I told you guys that it was because of health reasons, and it was. So I went through that. Fast forward a couple of months to May, and I got a positive pregnancy test in May. And since I had had the miscarriage earlier in the year, I told the doctor, I'm like, I want to get my blood checked, the HCG levels checked to make sure that they're rising appropriately, because that indicates a healthy pregnancy. I want to get my progesterone checked. I want to do all the things to make sure that I'm not going to have another miscarriage. And the doctor put me on progesterone to mitigate a risk of miscarriage. And I did all that. My HCG levels were really good. Progesterone was good. Everything was good. So I went in for my first ultrasound at 7.5 weeks, and there was no heartbeat. So the doctor had me wait a week, and just to make sure, and I went back and still nothing. So I had another silent miscarriage, which is horrible because they're pretty rare. So the doctor prescribed me the medicine again, and I went through the entire process all over again. And I, once again, was really upset and took some time off of YouTube. And after that, I told my husband, I don't want to keep trying. I don't want to go through this again. And he said, okay. So we put measures into place to make sure that it didn't happen again. Pregnancy didn't happen again. Anyway, fast forward to 2025, and I got a positive pregnancy test result on my wedding anniversary of this year. And when I got that result, I was so angry because I told my husband I didn't want to go through this again. I didn't want to lose another one. And we put measures into place to make sure it didn't happen, and something got missed. I don't know if it was human error. I still haven't figured it out, but something didn't work. And I told him I didn't want to go through this again. And I was crying and I was upset. And my husband just said, well, what if it works out? So I called my mom, and I told her, I'm pregnant again. And I said, Mom, can you please pray for me? My mom is a woman of strong, strong faith. She said, yes, of course. And I said, can you have your church pray for me? She said, yes, of course. And I'm pretty sure they definitely prayed for me. I know they did. So we had an ultrasound set up for end of March. And my mom, I was talking to my mom, and she's like, this is before we knew anything, because I hadn't been to the doctor yet. And I was a nervous wreck for obvious reasons. The rate of miscarriage rises exponentially as a woman ages. I think by 40 years old, the rate is like 50%. So it's really high. And based on my past history and my age, I I was not very optimistic. And I was talking to my mom, and she said, well, Megan, what do you think God was trying to teach you by putting you through all of this? And I said, well, I've had a lot of time to think about it. And I've had a lot of time to pray over it. And this is what I've learned. Jesus tells us in the book of John 16:33 that in this world, we will face trials and tribulations. Christians are no different than anybody else. We experience hardship and hurt and pain and health problems just like everybody else. We live on the same world as everybody else. And Jesus tells us, you're going to go through things. But then the second part of that verse, he says, but have heart, be of good cheer, because I have overcome the world. And it made me think that it doesn't matter what God puts me through, because everything on this earth is temporary. It doesn't matter, because the one thing that actually matters, he already did for me. He sent his son to die on the cross for my sins. And that is the one thing in this entire world that has any worth and any meaning. It is the epitome, the standard of unconditional love, because I did not deserve that. I'm not a good person. I didn't do good things to be right with God. He offered his son as a sacrifice because he loved me enough and knew I couldn't save myself. And even if he does nothing for me my entire life, even if my life is filled with pain and suffering and heartache, my heart is filled with joy and peace and comfort in knowing that I have salvation through Jesus Christ because of what he did for me. So nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. The one thing that matters, he did. So I told my mom, I'm like, that's what I learned. And she said, didn't you already know that? Well, of course I knew that. But it's easy to say, I have joy through Jesus Christ when things are going good in your life. It's really hard to say that when you're hurting and when you're angry and you don't understand why you're going through what you're going through. So I had to remind myself of what actually mattered in order to find peace. So that's what I learned, and I told my mom. So we had our first ultrasound. I was 9 weeks and 1 day. And baby had a heartbeat. I'm sorry, I knew I was gonna cry. So the doctor, she's the same doctor that treated me all last year. And I think she was more surprised than I was. She said she saw my name on the patient list for the day and her heart just dropped. And she said, I want to see you back in 2 weeks. I said, okay, just to make sure everything was going good. So I went back at 11 weeks and 4 days and everything was good. And that day, they took blood from me and sent off the blood to have the NIPT, non-invasive prenatal test done, which tests for chromosomal abnormalities and also reveals the sex of the baby. I got the results on Easter Sunday, and that was really special because we were actually with my family, and me and my husband live in a different state than my parents and my brother, and we were all together going on like a Easter vacation, and I got to share the results with them that everything came back low risk, no risk of Down syndrome or any other chromosomal abnormalities, which shows that everything's developing properly. And we found out that the sex is a boy. And I had one more doctor's appointment since. Heartbeat was still good. They tested for spina bifida. That came back negative. So my first announcement, I guess, is to say that As of the filming of this video, I am 19 weeks pregnant at 38 years old after 15 years of infertility, 3 losses. And the most ironic thing is that we were trying to prevent it. But God had other plans, apparently. So if any of you are praying people, please keep us in your prayers. So that is my first life update bit of news. I figured I should tell you guys because you were going to notice anyway eventually as time progresses. And I just wanted to share my journey to explain where I was last year, why I took so much time off, as well as this year. So I wasn't filming any videos because I was just having a lot of anxiety through my first trimester, because that is the riskiest time for miscarriage. And I really, really tried not to, but I did. And also, I was so sick during my first trimester. The only way I can describe it, and if you have been through pregnancy before, you know this to be true, it felt like I had food poisoning every single day for like 9 weeks straight. I couldn't even read a book. I would force myself to go to work, come home, and I was in bed by 6:30, 7 o'clock every night. I was so sick. And that's another reason I couldn't film. Just, no, not gonna happen. And the doctor said that it would start to go away during my second trimester. And sure enough, around 15 weeks, it started to go away. And now I feel so much better. I still get nausea a little bit throughout the day, but it is definitely not as severe as it was, and it does go away. And my food aversions are mostly gone. You guys, I can eat salad again. I love salad. I could not eat it for a while. I can drink Starbucks again. I am getting all my regular food cravings back and eating my regular diet, so I'm just feeling a lot better. My energy is still not where I want it to be, but I'm feeling a lot better physically. So that is announcement number 1. And announcement number 2 is that as of June 1st, I resigned from teaching. So if y'all don't know, I am a middle school English teacher. And once we found out that this pregnancy was progressing well, my husband and I decided that it would work best for our family if I stayed home with our child. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited because it is so important if moms are able to stay home with their child, at least in the first 3 years of life. It's so crucial to their development. And I am so thankful and blessed that I am in a situation where I'm able to do that. However, it is bittersweet leaving the teaching profession and not working, because I've been working since I was 16 years old. I've never not had my own income. So this is going to be a big change for me. Right now, I'm a stay-at-home wife, and soon I will be a stay-at-home mom. So that is my second big piece of news, you guys. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Like I said, normally don't reveal much about my private life on the internet, but I just felt like telling this story. And yeah, I appreciate y'all listening. I appreciate everybody who reached out to me asking if I was okay. That just fills my heart with joy, and thank you. I'll see you guys in another video soon. Bye.